The Truth Hurts, Part 11, a Miraculous Ladybug Fanfiction. If you have not heard the previous 10 parts of this story, you can find a link to them in the description box below. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to stay up to date on the latest parts of your favorite fanfiction, and don't forget to leave a comment and support down below.
So, what are you thinking about?
Plagg asked, hovering in front of him. Adrian was lying on his bed, debating how to address his masked friends in a few minutes. They were meeting up for ice cream in 10, but he was sure that asking them to a quiet place would work. They respected Cat, or at least he hoped they did, so they'd listen. Right? Yeah, they're his best friends after all.
Claws out,
Adrian whispered, holding out his ring. Slipping out of the house wasn't hard anymore, especially after learning the schedules of everyone who worked inside. "Oh, hey!" Rena Rouge called out, spotting him on the roof.
"Hey,"
Cat said, jumping down. Ladybug glanced away at his meeting, cracking his defense.
"You ordered without me?"
"Nah, I plan on having two." Rena held up a wad of cash. "Besides, today is on me." After a couple of pats on the back, the crew ordered and, at the suggestion of Cat Noir, made their way onto the roof of a nearby church. It was only built in the 19th century, so they wouldn't get any gaping tourists disturbing them or busting his identity when the time came. Sure, he was nervous, but this is how he decided to resolve this. He had some character developing to do, at the cost of his pride. "This is a pretty spot," Ladybug said, looking out at the skyline. "Yeah." Rena Rouge nodded in agreement. "I've noticed Cat Noir does a good job finding romantic backdrops." "Well, I suppose if you—" Ladybug stopped short, freezing in surprise with a small amount of fear etched on her face. When Rena and Carapace turned to see, their eyebrows shot up, but they didn't say anything at first. Carapace's expression melted into a warm smile, and Rena covered her mouth in either surprise or excitement. Adrian couldn't tell. He'd de-transformed quietly, and now that he had their attention, he opened his mouth.
"So,
ta-da!
I guess."
If he were sticking true to his Cat Noir flamboyance, Adrian would have prepared fireworks and a mariachi band for this moment, but sometimes simplicity was the biggest shock of all, so he used it to his advantage.
"Dude,"
Carapace let out an awestruck whisper.
"You're like my idol."
He noticed how white Ladybug's face was and sighed.
"So, remember when Ladybug told us who she was? Turns out that hurt me, like, a lot."
Adrian shifted his weight.
"And then I couldn't help but get salty about it. I mean, I'd been dying to know, but then she just outright tells her classmates, and no one asks her why? And the three of you just chillax together, knowing who the others are, while I'm also here with supposedly no clue, and no one wants to let me in the loop."
The silence was uncomfortable, but Adrian continued.
"I know you didn't mean to, but it hurt. So I figured I'd come clean so you'd be able to see things from my point of view. I'm, well, me. And I hope you guys are okay with that."
"Never in a million years," Rena said, de-transforming herself, "would I have imagined you to be Cat Noir."
"I mean, yeah, I've always joked that you kinda looked like him, but personality? Never."
"Alia!" Carapace's jaw dropped at the sight of her.
"Huh.
He must not have figured out she was Reina Rouge. Suddenly, her flirtatious comments and his sidestepping her moves became all the more fun. She knew she was flirting with her boyfriend as he tried to stay faithful. "Huh. Hey, hun," she said. "I've known who you are since pretty much day one. I'll admit I'm a bit disappointed you didn't figure out my identity." Nino also detransformed then, standing as awkward as a turtle as he glanced from person to person.
"Well, my dudes," he began, "who would have thought?"
Adrian gave a sympathy laugh as Alia cackled at his comment. Ladybug, however, looked away. She wasn't going to own up to it, was she? Well then, spots off, I suppose. Marinette was there, standing uncomfortably in their quad of now dripping ice cream. Silence engulfed them, as though no one dared to make the next move now that their identities were out in the open. "You're right, Cat," Marinette said, despite Adrian standing as himself. "I didn't think. Well, actually, I thought about it quite a lot. It made sense that I told Carapace and Reina Rouge, as I knew who they are, but in reality, I just wanted to tell Adrian. I'd be lying if I said the rest wasn't a facade."
"Me? Why?"
Adrian practically scoffed at her comment. "Hey, hun," Alia said.
"Yeah?"
Nino looked at her with a stout nod. "Something tells me this is where we walk away to enjoy our ice cream."
"I agree."
Marinette shifted as Alia and Nino made their exit, transforming back so they could safely get off the roof. Adrian reeled as he processed her words. She wanted to tell Adrian, but not Cat Noir? He'd begged and pleaded with her, yet she wanted to tell Adrian, out of nowhere, that she was Ladybug? Why? It didn't make sense. "Do you remember me saying that there's someone else I like?" He looked up to see Ladybug. She transformed again.
"Yeah?"
His heart sank every time he thought about it.
"Well,"
she began.
"Well, this isn't really how I expected it to go, but..."
He couldn't quite make out her words as she muttered,
"I'm sorry?"
I like you, Adrian." She made eye contact for a brief moment before glancing away, leaving him stunned. He'd gone over dozens of reasons, but none of them were that she liked him. Ladybug liked him. After all the longing and pining, she liked him. No, that wasn't entirely true. Adrian and Ladybug only had a few chance encounters, although they always felt strangely intimate. He always chalked it up to him having a bond with her as Cat Noir, but it was her all this time. Ladybug cared for Adrian. That was the connection. But it wasn't Ladybug who cared for Adrian. Yeah, she and Marinette are the same person, but it was because she's Marinette that she felt that way. Not because she's Ladybug. Marinette, who sat behind him in class, liked him. Marinette, who always went out of her way to make him feel better, liked him. Marinette, who always backtracked and apologized when she realized she was in the wrong, liked him. Marinette was too good for him. As he realized the way he'd responded to Ladybug's straightforward rejections as Cat Noir, she was the elegant and refined one, not him. They'd been accidentally rejecting the other all this time, but he was the one who kept getting stuck on her. Then again, he'd never revealed who he was to Ladybug to get her to like him, although he probably would have if he thought it'd do the trick. Ugh, too many thoughts again. Not enough talking.
I think I need a minute,
Adrian croaked. He didn't realize his throat tightened up, and he probably should do some breathing exercises about now. I'm sorry. His eyes flashed to her. What did she mean by that?
For
liking you. Her hand covered her lower face as a spark in Adrian's chest roared up.
Don't you dare.
She stepped back at his sudden change in tone. She began.
Don't you dare apologize for having feelings, Marinette. You haven't even heard my answer.
You have an answer? He opened his mouth but realized he didn't have a response.
Not yet. If I answered you right now, I'm worried that you might only think I'm dating you because you're Ladybug. And I'm muddled from the whole identity reveal thing that you pulled without showing any intention of ever showing Cat Noir. But,
he cleared his throat.
I'm going to sleep on it before I tell you how I feel. You deserve that much.
His heart thumped in his chest as Marinette nodded slowly, her face bright red. Wow. She exposed herself, didn't she? In more ways than one.
Yeah.
She whispered. The condensation around his ice cream bowl made Adrian grateful he didn't get a cone. It was already melting and would be all the more awkward. He walked over to the side of the roof and sat down, dangling his legs off the edge. Care to join? He asked. Her footsteps creaked toward him after a moment of hesitation. Patting the spot beside him, Adrian debated what to do and say next. He didn't want to play mind games with her, so he let the silence talk instead. Everything was addressed that needed to be, and his mind was ready for a break. If anything, Adrian was proud of himself. He did it. He defended himself righteously. He didn't blow up, but he still conveyed the message. He didn't compromise himself, but he didn't go out of his way to guilt-trip anyone this time. He stated what happened, why it hurt him, and reiterated what he felt. He did a good job this time around. He'd grown so much in such a short time. Just yesterday, he was using poems to guilt-trip the love of his life. Then again, character development doesn't come around so easy, so there was always more to do. Hey, Ladybug said, breaking the silence. Adrian hadn't realized that the two of them had all but finished their bowls.
Yeah?
So, she stammered, unable to make eye contact. Sorry about rejecting you.
Huh?
Did she mean Cat Noir's feelings for her? Before finding out you were Adrian, I thought you were, cool, I guess. I thought you were super obnoxious, especially in a brother kind of way when we first started. But now, if I hadn't had feelings for you as Adrian, you'd definitely be in the running. Adrian felt his heart lighten. Really? He whispered. Even with a full-blown crush of the century on you, I was still falling for him. Kinda.
Excuse me?
Adrian was appalled. Appalled? No, that wasn't the right word. That, but in a good way. Taken aback? Dumbfounded. Adrian was dumbfounded. Ladybug had a kind of crush on him? Like, her heart skipped a beat every now and then, and she'd shush it? The thought of it made his cheeks burn. Cool. It was the only response he had, except for a small, nodding smile. He had a chance after all. Well, despite the fact that she confessed her feelings for him just moments before. So, I guess I'll see you in class then? Yeah. See you then. Adrian heard her yo-yo zip away and let out a sigh of relief. He was still stiff from what happened, and he couldn't wrap his head around it without going crazy. It would be nice to go home and catch up on what happened as the evening progressed. Finally, the words Marinette spoke didn't hurt him. There was honest truth to her words, despite them being unexpected. Who knew he'd get such opposite reactions to what she told him? And how would he respond this time? Thank you so much for listening. Part 12 will be released shortly. In the meantime, you can check out these other videos for more fanfiction. If you'd like to make sure you check out the Redbubble store. Links in the description.